went straight to Sesame, had like the Saturday and Sunday to recoup, worked the week, and then flew back on the Friday night to come back and start again, which was just nuts. I think also in that, it's just a standout year for me because I also did some Muppet assisting. And I was thinking, like, this is like 1982. It's like I was sent back in time. It's like a busy year when those guys were working in the 80s. Yeah, like I did Muppets, I did Sesame, I did Dark Crystal, and I did Dodge, all in that year.
Welcome back to Puppeteers. We're your hosts, Adam Krutinger
and Cameron Garrity.
And today we're talking to Warrick Brownlow-Pike. Welcome to the show, buddy. How's it going?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Al, it is so good to have you here. Warrick, for anybody who doesn't know, is just an amazing puppeteer from across the pond. In England, he has worked on Sesame Street, where he performs Gonger. He also worked on the TV show Mongrels, of course, the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, for the CBeebies show, Interstitials on the BBC. And we're just so delighted to have him here. Warrick Brownlow-Pike, welcome to Puppeteers.
Thank you.
Yeah, no,
you said CBeebies. I was going to pull you up early doors. Oh, yeah. You said CBeebies, which everybody says CBeebies.
CBeebies. Okay.
Yeah, but there are 1,000 variations on the word CBeebies that we get all the time.
I imagine even, especially with kids saying it too, it's got to be real. Yeah.
Oh, it's normally the old people. They're like CBs. BCs, it's everything but.
That's so funny. All right, well, but before we get too deep into it, let's just talk about, well, what are you working on right now?
So I'm doing my CBeebies job, which has been a continuous job for like 13 years, I think, with Dodge, my dog, my little doggy. He's this little doggy here. So I do that. That's kind of like my day job. And today I went in, I rushed in, got there, I got my microphone on, got the script out, got down, got the monitor set up, and then was like, okay, what are we waiting for? Oh no, the puppet's in the car boot. So I had to run out into the multi-story car park, up the stairs, get the puppet. It took me like 4 minutes. I had my mask on. Like,
Oh my God. Was he camera ready?
Kind of.
Little matted, little bedhead.
Yeah. Well, he's a dog, so he needs brushing and stuff. But I just there wasn't time. I put a little Christmas hat on him.
Yeah, then you're ready to rock and roll. That's great.
Yeah. So we're doing that, which we do every day, really, every weekday. I'm doing some Sesame. I did some ADR yesterday for season 51, which is currently on. And that's like it. That's what's happening right now, this week, today, yesterday.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Some ADR then. Do you have to do that often for Sesame Street?
Yeah, sometimes there will just be things like the line won't be clear, maybe like jumbled the line a little bit, or a line change.
Oh,
so like I did some stuff where it was like, and now we do this, but then for research says it needs to be next we do this, or see one words like that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, of course. That makes sense.
Now, were you in New York when COVID started to happen? Because we were talking to Pam back in, like March or April or so. And she was saying how, you had like 1 week left of season 51. And it was Foodie Truck.
It was my week. I was due to fly out on like the Saturday morning of whatever that date was now. And on the Friday afternoon, they told me, you just can't come. It's not safe to come. And I knew that, but I was just like, come on. And nope. So we closed, I think that's when we closed. Like my brain is just a mess with all that information now because the studio here closed in England. And I'm pretty sure at the same time the studio there closed. And it was a scramble to work from home. So within a few days, I was doing my CBeebies job of Dodge from home.
Wow.
So yeah, it was just like marshmallow brain.
Right. And can you describe your home setup? Because we talked to Phil Fletcher. He's actually the episode right before you're
before me.
Yeah.
What?
We're saving the best for last. No, but
he had with him tomorrow.
he had a rather janky setup in his little puppet tent. Can you describe how your home setup compares?
Mine's not too dissimilar, actually.
I imagine you may have used a different monitor, though.
Yeah.
Oh no,
his was a mirror taped to a coat hanger.
I'm always like, why? Like, it's not expensive. Why don't you just get yourself a monitor? I have a really cool little monitor that just goes straight into the iPhone or into the camera. I was using a 5D, Canon 5D. I mean, very simple, very easy for anybody to achieve, really. Wow. And then, a couple of lights dotted around and a microphone attached.
No, that's great. It's amazing. Like, could only imagine if this had happened even 5 years prior to this and how things would have been different.
Oh yeah, like what do we do? But and also it looks, I mean, the iPhones shoot 4K, so it looks really good. We had backdrops, printed backdrops of the dogs' kennels and stuff. It's fine. Like I think the audience would believe that he is inside his kennel in the physical CBeebies house studio set. So we did I did like 130 pieces or something with him.
That's just unreal. So this has all been really great, and we'll certainly be talking more about your work with CBeebies and Sesame Street. But we'd love to just kind of go back a little bit and talk about your artistic upbringing. What were you like as a kid?
Very artistic, constantly drawing and coming up with like TV show ideas, things I thought would be fantastic. Probably weren't very good, but just and constantly drawing puppet characters. So whenever I wouldn't draw a character that I thought would be in a cartoon, I'd be like, this guy is a great puppet. So it was always with that in mind.
That's so cool. And so then, I imagine the Muppets, and you're talking about some of the characters behind you, all played, pretty significant influences in that.
Big influences. Yeah. I mean, that's all I really wanted to watch. I'd like go through the TV guides and just like any Muppets on this week? No Muppets on this week. Sesame Street's on at like 6 a.m. So my mum would wake up early and record that for me because I wouldn't be getting up at 6 a.m. Yeah. Like she'd get up, she'd record it, and then I'd watch it when I got up. But like a massive influence on me. And so the job I do now with Dodge the Dog, there's always been a puppet in place of that for the last 35 years of that show. There's always been a puppet. So I'd always follow those puppets too. We had Gordon the Gopher, Ed the Duck, Emlyn the Gremlin, Otis the Aardvark, then Oucho the Cactus, which was me, which is this guy here.
Right. And
after Oucho came Dodge.
Yeah. And it's so wonderful that there's kind of that lineage that exists there. I didn't realize about that. I knew Oucho led to Hacker and Dodge, but it's just really cool to see that progression. And within the world of those characters, like, do they all kind of know each other, and is there sort of a torch passing, or is it like rebooting a series?
Kind of. So sometimes we'll do calls between them. So like Hacker and Dodge might call Gordon, who is like the grandfather now, because he's the oldest character from that kind of place, that job. And we pitched a Zoom call between all of those puppet characters that we sadly never got to do. I'm sure we'll do it one day. We also did a 35th anniversary show. No, 30th. This year is the 35th. We did a 30th anniversary show, which you can see on my YouTube channel. And it was great just to like look back at all the presenters, because there's been hundreds of presenters come through. In our time, in my time and Phil's time, there have been like 20, 30 presenters come through. And they go on to be massive stars.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's so great. And especially when, we, have the sort of Disney Channel or Nickelodeon model of, as a kid, you have that those nostalgic memories of seeing someone on screen, and then you kind of grow up with them as they move on to some more adult projects. So that's pretty cool.
Kids really have grown up with Hacker and Dodge now, because they've been on for like 11 years, which is crazy, because I always wanted a character that had been around and just people knew him, and it's just part of the fabric of it all now.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
So I really love him.
And also too, so it's that's I mean, so obviously many kids literally have grown up with it at that point, but even kids that were like at the perfect age for it. So some of those kids are probably in the like they're teenagers.
Well, they could be 20. I mean,
yeah,
if they were watching at 10, they could be now 20.
What would you say is the target audience?
So there are two channels. There are two channels that we now do. There's the CBeebies channel, which is 0 to 6. And that's where I live, where Dodge the dog lives. And then there's the CBBC channel, which is 6 to 16 or so. So we cover all age range really now. Dodge started out on the CBBC channel and spent about 8 years doing live TV there. And then moved over to CBeebies, which is the preschool channel, which is now mostly pre-records. And like, it's really hard to describe what it is. It's the closest thing is it's like Sesame Street cut up into anywhere between 30 seconds to 3-minute chunks. And we come between the TV shows.
Right. Yeah. The little interstitials and stuff.
Yeah. That run all day long.
That's so cool. And so, it's got to be a really fun opportunity, especially when you guys do those live hits, to just, what you get is what you get. So there's that little bit of pressure, but it's got to be just, I always think that gets you more in character because you don't have a chance to second guess yourself.
We love it. Like that was my training. I started with them in 2007 at CBBC with Oucho the Cactus. And he didn't speak English, which was a blessing for me because I didn't have to really learn the lines. He was scripted in English, but then I had to translate and make up this language, which was initially gobbledygook. And then we would like we'd have I don't know, we'd say a word and it would stick, and then you'd like the producer and the director, the writer found it funny, so they'd write it into tomorrow's script. So you'd have to say the same thing, and they'd be like, it didn't really sound like that yesterday. So then you'd have to make a note, and then eventually the kids would send in letters using the language, and myself and the people who were there most often could translate the letters. It's crazy. And that was a really good training ground because we were live, but the pressure wasn't on because as long as I made a noise, like it could have been, I really could have put zero effort in, and because the presenter's going to translate me, and he's learned both sides of that story, of that conversation. We did that for about 3 years, I think, and then we changed. So those characters, which was Ed and Oucho, Ed the human and Oucho the cactus, they got their own series, couple of like a Saturday morning show, which is kind of a big deal in England to have a BBC weekend Saturday morning show. It's a longer, you get like 10 minutes blocks between the cartoons. And we had a couple of series, like a sciencey sitcom series. So when we got busy doing those, that's when Phil came in with Hacker to cover the shifts that I was doing, the interstitial shifts.
Right.
So I'd known Phil for a while, a couple of years by then, and he hadn't done television yet. So I don't know, you've probably told you this on the previous episode. So he came in to cover me, and that was such a success. And we had kind of run our course. We'd had a couple of series, we had like 3 series, and we'd done 3 years on air. So that had kind of done its thing. And the bosses changed at the same time, which is often the case that like when the people at the top change, they're like, I want a new thing. So Phil came in with Hacker, and that was like instant success. Just hilarious. Absolutely the funniest person I've ever met in my entire life.
He's something else.
Yeah.
Constantly crying and like cheeks aching. I'm just like, stop talking to me because I need to breathe. So we came back and they were like, well, let's have, there was always different shifts. So we would do the afternoon, like the kind of the prime time slot of that job is the afternoon slot, where you do when the kids come out of school until the evening, which is the way you get the most viewers and you're live. And there's also a morning shift, which is a pre-record shift, and there's a weekend shift, which you kind of don't want to be doing, the weekend shift. So there's always like those 3 areas that people are trying to vie for. And so I came back and they were like, well, we have Hacker doing the afternoon shifts, but we have these other shifts that need filling. So that's why we made Dodge, to fill one of the other shifts. Yeah, and then he would go and do his show, and I would do the afternoon slot, and I'd go and do the Furchester, and we would just flip-flop backwards and forwards like that the whole time.
Wow,
in fact,
really
just
cool.
Talking about Oucho, my first puppeteers moment, because I told you I have a list of puppeteers moments, is that we were live, and the presenter's here, and Oucho's like here, talking away, and then he turns to the presenter, and the little glass eye bounces out, and bounces boink, 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 boink along the desk, and I'm like, oh God, he has one eye. And so there's a big like gluey socket. Like
Right.
it looks horrific. It doesn't just look like there's no eye there. There's like a cup.
There's like a gash.
Glue
Yeah.
and stuff. And there's like ink around it. And I'm like, oh God, just stay profile so they can't see that this eye's missing. I didn't want to cry, but I was like, what do I do? This is
No,
new.
right. Something similar happened with Noel McNeil in a big dance scene at one point on Sesame with Patti LaBelle, and Bert's eye pops right off, and then for the rest of the thing you just see Bert in profile. It was a pretty quick save. It was
It's lucky
really
we can react so quickly, eh? I mean,
Yeah.
if we didn't work with monitors, we'd never know.
Yeah.
No, of course not.
No, that's a good point. Actually, I've got a question about that. Since so when you were gone for a little bit, and then Phil came in, and Phil came in, and obviously Phil's brilliant. He's such an entertainer. I don't think it'd be impossible to put him in any situation and not have him be entertaining. However, though, I think we can all understand that there's a very big difference between monitor puppetry and just a traditional stage or just not using a monitor. Was it, and you being someone who had a lot of experience at that point with monitor, what was it like when you came back and you started working together? Did you have to teach him a little bit of that, or did he just pick it up quick, or was there any?
Well, he had been practicing at home and stuff because he's also like us. He would have been doing it anyway.
Oh,
okay. But he was actually touring with his own live show, so he was doing cabaret style puppetry in the holiday camps and clubs and stuff, and he was very successful at that. And then when we dragged him into TV, he's never had the chance to go back since. But he was already he had that down.
Oh, he did already. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he had it down. What's funny is that the characters, because they're so old now, they really evolved. Like when Hacker first started, he was a dog and they wanted him to be a dog. So he was like, and now it's just like, you can't shut him up. And what was interesting is because he has that cabaret background, I didn't have that. I went straight into TV. I went from the real world. I did some real world jobs, some nasty jobs, but then I just went straight to television puppetry, and that is what I'd been at home practicing for on the monitors and on my TV with a video camera. But Phil had years and years of doing cabaret, so you have to be fast. Like the audience are going to boo, they're going to heckle, and he's just pow 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 pow. There's no getting by him. He's constant. He's always got a funny response. And so his co-presenter Ian was a stand-up comedian. So when I came back, I was like, whoa, I am just in way deep here. I don't know how to deal with these.
It's got to be hard to keep up.
Yeah. So I'd be in the room with them. I think the first time I came back, I was I played the record producer or something, or a guy who comes in with a deal. He's going to make them stars in these storylines, because we would have a storyline that goes the whole afternoon or the whole week. And I was just like, I don't know if I can keep up with these guys. That's too good. They're too on it for me. They're too snappy. I'm used to so I say this and you said that and then he says this. So one day I just said to them, okay, you guys can ad-lib around it. I'm reading my lines. And I just had to sink or swim. I had to learn how to be as quick as they were.
Yeah. Well, especially even with improv and stuff, once you start adding more people, it does become harder, because you're creating that story on the fly and knowing when to come in, and you start writing that script in your head as it goes, and then something someone else says might completely change change what the direction you thought you were trying to go in. So I mean, it's a lot to think about.
And they had a flow. They had a really good thing going. And remember that I was now speaking English. It was really my first full-time English speaking character. Right. So I just wasn't used to that. I was used to I have to kind of say this because he needs to translate me. That's the world I've been in for the last 3.5 years. Tightly scripted and the comedy where we would look at it and, trim it and snip it and edit it and try and get it perfect, just in the minutiae of it all. Whereas this was more haphazard and let's just see what happens.
So how long do you think it took you to be able to be sort of caught up with them, or?
It wasn't quick.
Yeah. I could imagine so. I mean, we talked to Phil for an hour and a half, and it was just oh my gosh, we were sweating by the end of it.
It was a lot. It was more like a monologue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just wasn't. I had no that was now my new training. I had no training in it. So I was learning on air. I was just like going out there every day. Like, let me get through this one. It must have worked because I'm still here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, that's the way to learn for sure. Yeah. Holy cow.
Yeah, I wouldn't want it any other way. And I think like you need all those pressures to get good.
Otherwise, you know, I mean, I'm not saying for you, but I know, like, if it was me in that situation, I'd be like, if I had to train first, like, I'd never feel like I was ready, and you never are really until you're just kind of thrown in it. There's no other way, you know. And it reminds me of teaching too, because I went to school for teaching. I'm an art teacher during the day, and you learn all this stuff in class, but then you do student teaching. I'm like, you'll learn 90% of your teaching in that last semester because again, you're thrown to the wolves, kind of. So,
yeah, exactly, yeah. No, literally. And like, if you say something wrong on air, everybody's watching.
Yeah.
And in fact, there were times when, like, you now know this, we would rehearse and we go, okay, we all kind of know what it is. We don't like to rehearse a lot. So we'll read it once and maybe rehearse it once and go, okay, cool. Everybody's fine. We got it. And then like Phil will change it when we're live. And I didn't expect it. And there was this one time that I just lost it. I was wheezing and like giggling, and my voice was getting all high. I was just, and I'm like, oh no, I can't get the lines out. I can't get the next lines out because I'm like just dying here. And then he starts to laugh, and we just lose it. And the puppets are just they've stopped doing anything that they should be doing.
They're just
vibrating. There's no focus, and they're just like shaking around, and the presenter's laughing because he knows that we're down there and we've lost it. And the producer came up and was like, never again. He was furious with us. And we were like, uh-oh. So then we come out the studio, we go downstairs at the end of the day, and everyone's like, yay, wonderful.
Oh my, do you remember when that was? Like, I can imagine get away with that maybe at year 9 or something, right? Maybe not year 2 or 3. Oh geez.
It was way back. It was at least 9 years ago.
Wow.
That instance, the instance that I'm thinking about was at least 9 years ago.
Right. Wow. Oh wow. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's crazy.
Funny. Ugh.
Yeah.
It scares me now to think about it.
Definitely. So, and maybe I have this timeline a little wonky, but whenabouts did Mongrels happen in relation to into all this?
It happened about like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It happened just like a year. Oh no, hang on. The first series happened before I did Dodge.
Okay.
So that's like 11 years ago now.
So you were doing both things at the same time? Yeah,
I've often tried to, like, in the year try and do a show if a show comes up. Like, try my best. I know that sounds crazy, but like if there'll be a show, I'll be like, if I schedule this like this and I work really hard up here, then I can maybe free some time up down here. And and that was one of those times that it worked out. And that's a nice show. It's 2 series.
I remember I was in college at the time when I saw that. And
how did you see it?
It was on Hulu here. It was I think it was a Hulu exclusive at the time, and I've since bought both series of it. Because I was blown away. I mean, in high school I was a big Family Guy person, so it kind of had that cutaway humor. But then
that's how they sold it to us. They said it's Family Guy with puppets.
Yeah, and but just the manipulation that you guys achieved and the musical theater elements of it. I like every Halloween we'll put on the episode where the dog characters and you guys do the whole like Rocky Horror.
Well, I actually shot behind the scenes. I didn't do much behind the scenes, but I shot behind the scenes of that musical number.
Cool.
I think it's on my Instagram. We can maybe share it.
I was gonna say, we'll dig through if we can.
That was the one I did do a behind the scenes video of. Yeah, it's cool. And that's Richard O'Brien singing that.
Really?
From the movie, from Rocky Horror.
Right.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Holy cow. Yeah. No, I remember, to be honest, I haven't seen that much of it. It just came up on my radar just from like, just being in the puppet community, people posting, check this out. This
guy's got the DVDs. Get him to send you the DVDs.
I know! I've seen a couple episodes though, and I just remember seeing I just looking at it, like the world that was created is just stunning. the puppets are stunning. You know, obviously it's funny and stuff, but man, as a builder, as a maker of puppets, it's just it's polished, man. It is
Well,
polished.
that's Andy Heath and Yestin Evans made those puppets. They made all of those puppets in their workshop. Their company's called Talk to the Hand Puppets. And so actually I wasn't involved from the start. Andy Heath came in to do a Cactus character with me. I'd often have you know, Oucho's relations or his friends, and they'd be Cactus puppets that we dress up kind of like the AMs, and we dress them up in all different ways. So Andy came in and did a Cactus wedding planner, Oucho's wedding planner. His name was Viva Voom. And, you know, to advise him on what he should wear for his wedding and all that kind of thing. And Andy was like, oh, you should look at this pilot that we just did. And this was like, I'm talking 13 years ago or something now. And he had his phone, and that was when the phones were new, like they just had video on them. It was new. So that was like crazy times that he had his pilot on his phone.
Yeah.
And it was a pilot for Mongrels. And I was just like, oh God, this is, I've not seen anything like this. I just haven't yet seen anything like this.
Yeah.
Because it has a different look to Muppet stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it wasn't like spit and image, because it was more refined and beautiful. So he gave me a DVD, and I just went home. I watched it like 4 times in a row. And I was like, I have to do this. I just have to do this. And at some point they decided to audition for Marion the Cat. So I went in and auditioned for that and got it. Thank God I got it. Because I would have just been so upset if didn't work on that show.
Right.
And you said about the sets, all those sets were raised. We've been really lucky here to have lots of shows with raised sets on. They were raised really high. If you ever see some behind the scenes photos, you'll see like the sets are like here if we're stood up.
Wow.
And because the creatures are supposed to be on the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the actual floor. So, and they're all dogs and cats, so they're tiny creatures. And they had a full-scale pub. It was the back of an old like East End British pub. It was a 2-story pub, and they had like a car raised up and gardens. And I spent all of my time in the dustbins, the trash cans. And they were nasty, because they'd throw stuff in there to make it look real, and then they'd spray it every day. They sprayed the set every day, every day, every couple of hours, because the way the light hits the water. So they'd like spray it on the walls and put a mist on everything. So they were constantly like spraying the dustbins with all the food in there, and they'd have like banana skins and bits of cabbage, and it was stinking. And I was inside there.
Have they heard of prop garbage before?
Well, they just wanted it to look as real as possible. And it did. Like, it looked so good, didn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
And it was often like all real plants and stuff, like real soil and real plants and grass and stuff that you see out there.
Yeah.
Really good.
That's
amazing. I wish we could do more of that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And so I was surprised to hear that show that you guys were actually performing to the tracks. I would have presumed that it was the other way around. Can you describe that process a little bit?
Yeah, and I think, because you said the manipulation was nice and detailed, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons why, is because we didn't have to really think about the words. We would get like the audio, the radio play basically, and we'd listen to that over and over and over. You know, you get the script and stuff, you learn the story, but then we just take it scene by scene. And in the car in the morning, on the way there, you know, on the way home, you listen to the next day's stuff, and it becomes more of like a dance. You know what I mean? Like you just get into the rhythms of it. You just know the rhythm of that track, and so then you can just think about all the other stuff that you might forget if you know what, you've got like a little bit of brain space, which you wouldn't have had if you had to do all the lines, if you had to say all the lines.
Right.
So I think maybe that's why.
Do you know,
I found it pretty easy to do, to sync to those tracks.
Yeah. Do you know, for the people who did the voice tracks, was there much back and forth between you guys? Because I can imagine maybe where a track was recorded where it was like, you can't do this with a puppet. Like it's either too fast or some other reason. Yeah,
that's exactly what it was. Their job was done, and then we get the track. So we'll often say to the sound guy on the floor, oh, we need some business in here, some physical business. So we need like a couple of seconds here, or I can't say that and turn and pick that up and look at it and talk about it as fast as they're doing it. So that would often be the case, that we'd have to stretch it out.
Oh, okay. So you just clip it and put some air there?
Yeah, he was on the floor, so he'd be like, done.
Okay.
And we'd often need gaps between things because some of those characters, they're fast speaking.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Did they often do that before set, or was there no other way to really figure it out, right? Ahead
yeah,
of time?
you just wouldn't know. It would be us on the day saying, I need this, I need that, you know, I need space here, I need to do this. And they were just there. They were so quick at doing it. It's great.
It still
And
seems
it
it would take a
didn't
lot
hold
of
us
time.
up.
No, really.
Didn't really hold us up. No.
Yeah, I guess if you
Yeah.
just get used to it and that's the workflow, right? Yeah, there's no other way.
And that was what, like, when I was trying to come up with my puppeteers list of moments that kind of were crazy, I was thinking about that show and I was like, nothing went wrong on that show. It was like smooth sailing. That was a good
That's
good
amazing.
one.
Yeah. No.
I mean, actually, we did the 2 series, and then we did a comedy proms. So we have these proms, which are these big musical extravaganzas at the Royal Albert Hall for the BBC, and we did the comedy proms. So there was like Tim Minchin was doing some comedy songs, and other people were doing some sketches, musical sketches, and we did a number from the show live on stage with like thousands and thousands of people.
That's amazing.
And so they were like the front row. So in the Royal Albert Hall, there are seats all around and up the walls and up way up high. But then the floor in front of the stage is standing, people standing. So that's like their heads are like your knee high. And so we rehearsed and it's fine. And it's all like we're switching puppets and we're picking up props. And we've got like wild arms with props on so that the rodded arms don't have the puppets on. We're doing all these switches and we're constantly like walking. So I walk into frame, I do my bit, I go back out, I change. Someone else comes in, does their bit. And and then on the night when we go out there, it's like, whoa, these people, they're just staring at us. They're just like, and we just didn't think about there will be human heads knee high looking at us very close, like really close. And it's really off-putting when someone's just staring you right in the eye.
Right.
And so we were doing our thing, and now it's dark, obviously, because it's the nighttime and it's the atmosphere. And then so we're running around, and I go to get my rat puppet, and it's gone, not on the table where it should be. And so there's not even a second to like look under the table, look beside the table. And then my rat puppet had to come in holding a little placard with somebody's face on it. And I was just like, grab the placard and just bounce it in, just have it dancing. And it got a laugh. I was like, thank goodness. Like the little living placard gets a laugh. I don't know where the rat went somewhere in the Royal Albert Hall.
Wow.
Still living there.
Still there,
yeah. I'm curious though. So I'm sure it's probably one of those things that you just got used to the rhythms and such, but how did you find a way to kind of access that character, especially when those puppets are so driven by you thinking about the voice in their head and what you're making them say? How are you able to still do that when you didn't have to perform the vocal track?
Well, it comes from, we all know it comes from the look of the character, but it also comes from the vocal track. It was a good funny vocal track, very fast talking and lots of asides. So we built all these kind of like a finger to the mouth thoughts in and stuff. Also, when I first saw him, I thought he has the body of one of those big walk around Disney characters, the big character costumes. So I often played it like that, like as if there was almost someone inside him, like a skinnier person inside that big suit. I don't know if that answers the question. But...
No, that's great. Yeah, no, because it's like I said, I was just curious about the thought process that was running through your head as you were doing that, like you mentioned, because you had that extra space.
I don't like it. It's such a long time ago now. I don't really know. It was also like the dumb best friend.
Yeah.
That he always comes up with a stupid plan, an awful plan, a terrible plan, like involve murder and stuff. I don't know. It's such a long time ago now.
Sure. No, that's okay. It's still great to talk about it because if anyone could find it, I got it through iTunes, and so I've just got it, on my.
Well, there's a Blu-ray of the first series.
Oh, okay.
Only the first series, and like it's worth looking at. Get it cheap. It's worth looking at because the detail is so nice. And I think there's a documentary on that too.
Oh, really?
Oh, great.
Oh, that'd be really
wonderful.
cool. We'll have
so
to
you can
check
see
that
those.
out.
You can see it in the
sure.
sets and stuff.
Was there multiples of those puppets to do some of the kinds of effects and whatnot?
The first year there was one of each. There may have been two of Nelson, the lead, but there was just one of each. There's one Marion. Then the second year we got a double. And I stepped on he has these like this lever thing for his ears. Yeah. I stepped on it. I crushed it.
Oh my gosh.
We also got to, there was this like a big fan base for it called the Furries.
Oh,
And so they like dress up in fox costumes and stuff, and cats and dogs and those kind of things. And they invited us out to San Francisco to do a puppetry lesson and talk on Mongrels. And we were like, oh, somebody knows the show. Because it's, see, what people don't realize is that was a BBC Three show, which didn't have a big audience. That channel, BBC Three, doesn't have a very big audience, and it is now gone, actually. It's only online. So we were always thinking, like, people aren't seeing this. The times would often change, the airtime and stuff. It was on like a Tuesday night at 10:30. And those guys were like, yeah, come to San Francisco and teach us how to do puppets and talk about Mongrels. So those puppets got to travel. We took them to Germany too to do the same kind of thing.
How was that experience?
It's great, actually. We loved it.
Or was it? Okay, great.
We really loved it. Yeah.
we've heard strange things about furry conventions at times. So
those guys were lovely. We had all the same stories and didn't experience any of the stories we
Oh, that's
heard.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
that's great.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And we went looking for the stories that we had heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
You're gonna find them.
So then what kind of came after Mongrels for you?
So all the while I was doing Dodge. Oh no, I should have prepared a list.
No, that's okay.
I don't know. Well, we did Get Well Soon somewhere around there. Get Well Soon is a preschool medical show for CBeebies, and it's basically these puppets, these yellow kids, yellow-headed puppet kids, got big heads, and there are 5 of them, and they each have just a whole world of illnesses and problems. Every episode they'll come in and they're broken
Disease
their
of the
arm,
week.
or
Yeah.
they've got a disease. Yeah. There's something's happened to them. These poor kids. So like there are like 60 episodes of that, and they're really cool actually for young kids, because it deals with like if you're gonna have a shot. So my daughter, when she went to have her shot, she was fine because she'd watched the episodes, and it deals with like if you need a brain scan, things that you just never would really hear of, and you see the puppet go through the whole thing. It's really like it's a useful tool. It's a really good show.
Yeah,
BAFTA winning as well.
I'm sure the CBeebies shows just they must fill up just so much of your time. Like you say, you're live every single day, and obviously working on that show is probably always the longest stretch of performing between any other gigs that you have. I guess before we get further in, then I guess in that time period, is there any like particular shows or episodes or events that you do with that character, like something stick out?
Yeah. Oh yeah, with Dodge.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a big Dionne Warwick fan. The singer Dionne Warwick. She sings like "That's What Friends Are For," "Walk On By," "Heartbreaker."
Yeah.
Humongous fan of hers.
Sure.
Always have been. And then this year I got to sing with her as him.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
Which
Holy
is
cow.
like the thrill of my life.
What did you sing?
We sang "That's What Friends Are For."
Oh, you did.
Yeah, we just kind of talked about, this year's been really hard. We've not been able to get together with our friends and our loved ones, and it's really important to tell people you care about them, and just send people some love. And so we did that, and I had like hearts in my eyes.
That's so cool. Were you in person with that, or was it like a Zoom thing?
No, it's a Zoom call. Mhm.
Yeah, that's so awesome. The holy
Yeah.
cow.
Did you yourself get any
mind.
time with her?
I chose not to, actually,
Got it.
because we were on a Zoom call, and so what she could see was the camera one feed of the studio.
Mm.
And I thought it would be very confusing if I start jumping up and going, "Oh, I love you."
Yeah.
So she just spoke to Dodge for the whole time, the whole half a day that we did it. And she loved him, which really pleased me. As soon as he went up there and he started to like groom himself and fix his fur, she was like, "Oh." So I can't even believe that happened. I watch it all the time, and I just can't believe that happened. We also got to meet the Queen. I don't know if Phil told you this. I'm sure he did.
No, we didn't talk to him about it, but I heard it on Below the Frame. You were talking with
That's
Matt
right.
about
Yeah,
it.
I was gonna say I thought
The
I heard,
Queen,
but yeah.
So the Queen.
that
opened
was such a great story. Part of it made me think of asking you about some other, because obviously people should listen to Below the Frame to hear more about that story. But I could, again, just from talking to Phil and stuff, realizing that you guys are, I mean, the screen time and the the performance time that you get doing it every day for the last 11 years, like, oh my gosh. I mean, there's even the Queen story, even though a humongous, memorable, probably once in a lifetime experience, you've probably had so many similar. I can't even imagine. There must be like so many stories. You've forgotten more than we'll ever know.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's true. Like, because you have the standout memories, and like those are the ones you keep telling. So you forget the other stuff. But like, so one of my bosses, the guy who hired me, in fact, for that job, left years ago now, like 3 or 4 bosses back. And what he would do is when somebody leaves, he'd clock up how much time they did. And like when Ed left, my first co-presenter, he was like, "You've done this many thousands of hours." And I was like, "Wow, that's a lot of time." And Ed left like 11 years ago or something. And I carried on. So it's thousands and thousands and thousands of hours by now. And so while we do that, the interstitials between all the shows, we end up doing the shows too. So like we end up being guests on shows, and we have recurring sketches within shows, all that kind of thing. We get to go out and do the behind the scenes of the shows, or we'll go and do promotion for what we do, or the shows on other shows, other channels and stuff like that. Yeah, and that now we often do a festival, a BBC festival. So we get to be on the big stage, pretend we're rock stars. But like my favorite times are when I'm in there singing. Because like some days I find it's just, I feel really blessed that I can go to work and I get to sing with really good singers, because those presenters are really good singers, and like they'll come up with great choreography and stuff, and I'll just feel like I'm in a band. It's like, oh, I'm singing to all thousands of people every day.
No, it's so cool. I mean, it's just got to be a really wonderful experience. And like, this is sort of a silly question, but like, do you probably walk down the street and like see him on people's like t-shirts or, you know, all sorts
Actually,
of...
we don't.
Oh, you don't?
Because they are not merchandised.
Oh man.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Isn't that funny? We don't know. It's just
So
kind
you
of
gotta get the
enough.
beak wet.
Well, this is all we have. This is a magnet. We have like promotional stuff. So we have stuff like that, but there are no like toys.
Wow, that's really bizarre to me, especially like it's good enough and they love it enough to keep it on for 12 years, but not enough to put it on a mug or on a t-shirt or like, well, what is stopping it from doing that? Do you know?
I don't think anything's stopping it. I don't think anybody thinks about it.
Really?
They're in the magazines, they're in the books and stuff.
Puppeteers podcast gave you the idea, so we would like 10%, maybe 5%, just 5%.
Right.
That's fine.
I'm just going to stop you there because I've been thinking about this for like 11 years.
No, you didn't say the whole time you're doing it.
And also, like, because I said recently, I was like, I mean, look here. I was like, guys, I've not been at Sesame for that long, and there's like the market's flooded with stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I would love a little cuddly Dodge. We had these made, these little statues here. You can see it everywhere from my side. And we give them to presenters who leave us.
Oh, okay.
And when I say leave us, they always go on to do something humongous.
Yeah,
I'm just surprised those characters. There's no plush. Like they're so plushable for a little kid to have, and wow, especially since it's aimed at some of those younger kids. And you know, look at what Sesame Street does. Of course, that's how Jim Henson was able to do everything that he did. Was through the merchandising. I think it has something to do with.
Yeah, it has something to do with. Possibly, I don't know this for sure, but I think it has something to do with the fact that we are internal at the BBC, and so the shows that are on air are mostly not owned by the BBC. They're made by independent production companies,
right? And those production companies are probably
the
ones
those
in
guys
charge of marketing
push the merchandise and the marketing. Yeah, so that's what I think it is, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
I was going to say that, you know, doing those things that you just come to mind. I was once in a room with Tom Jones and Dodge, and I just like, I don't know what to say to Tom Jones, and I'm just trying to do my best to be funny with him. We've only got him for like a minute, and we need him to laugh on camera. It's moments like that that are just crazy.
Oh,
that you never think you're going to be down there at the foot of Tom Jones.
No.
You know, I mean, Yeah, and I wish I always regret not asking him, because the Muppets were on his show first in England. The first time we had the Muppets in England was on the Tom Jones show. And I'm always
okay.
why didn't I ask him about that?
Yeah. No, it's that hindsight of, once you replay it in your head, you think of all the ways that it should have gone one way or another.
Yeah. But often those days are really tight. Like you'll be waiting for 20 hours and then you'll hear them coming down the corridor and someone's like, you've got 1 minute. Which is often the case.
Right. You're running and gunning it.
Yeah. It's like, wait, rush.
Yeah. Adam, did you have any other questions about Dodge stuff, or I was going to maybe move on to
just one more. I mean, this is going to sound weird to even say, because it's just like, you and Phil both do something that probably every single puppeteer like would want more than anything. Even the people who work on Sesame Street would probably love to have their day job where they go every single day and do some amount of performing.
I call it like a shop job.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
it's
really
like going to the store and working in the store all day.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was saying to Phil too, is like your job there does not exist, I don't think, anywhere in the world to be able to do it that much. Yeah,
we've looked around because we're like, is it it feels like it's the only job of its kind. Is it anywhere else? And not that we can, and especially not running as long as
of course. I mean that alone is what makes it even. I mean, yeah, just if this was brand new and that was happening, like, okay, yeah, sure, but how long is it going to last, right? I mean, like, you're going on year 12 now. You're going to be starting soon, and
the show itself has run for 35 years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so I guess my thing that I wanted to say is this is like, that's probably everyone's dream in some way, but is there do you ever wish, like, could we just do something different? To some, I mean, obviously you don't want it to end or anything like that, but like, if you had maybe more creative control of some sort, like what would you want it to be?
Well, like, we have a lot of creative control. We can suggest things and the turnaround is like pretty quick. If it's a good idea and everybody agrees, we can be doing it within days.
Yeah.
And I do the CBeebies stuff, and the variety is just like fantastic. We do like songs, sketches, we meet kids, we meet celebrities, we're educational sometimes. Like we just do the whole host of things.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing else that we'd like to do. More long form stuff. Like I'd like to tell some longer stories, maybe. Sometimes we don't get the chance to do that.
Yeah, I was thinking about like as a weird example, thinking like Oprah. Oprah could have kept going, right? Nothing was stopping her. She chose to stop, right? If she either, I mean, I don't know enough about it. Maybe she thought she did enough, or what more, or or maybe make room for something else. I'm just wondering, like, what. Yeah, it's just so interesting. I'm like, I just can't. I mean, I don't know if I've done anything that long. Like, oh my god,
I didn't expect it to last this long.
Oh, of course,
of course,
yeah.
And like, I often think, oh no, I think I'm like, there'll probably come a time where I get bored of it, which hasn't happened yet. Because
it hasn't happened yet.
Fresh.
It's not going to happen. Yeah,
hopefully it won't happen. Yeah. Like, and we constantly entertain ourselves. So yesterday in the studio, not on records, but between everything, Dodge just was in a bad mood. It was just mean to people, which made me laugh. And everyone's like, oh, come on, be nice, be cute. And he's like, no. So like, it's just like, he's living. Like he has his day between the hours of 9 and 6. That's his life.
Yeah.
No,
there aren't any downsides. There are times when like something will come up. I've had to say no to stuff. I had to say no to like quite a lot of Muppet stuff a couple of years ago, because like the call would be 2 days. Can you come in 2 days? I'm like, oh, okay. I have Tom Jones in 2 days.
Yeah.
But no, like it would be like, I can't come in 2 days, and I know that in 2 days what I'm going to do is really not going to be exciting at all. It's just going to be like the regular stuff that we have to do. So there's been a couple of times where that's happened, where it's just like a complete bummer. But I can't complain.
Yeah, no,
right.
Yeah, you couldn't give up a full time for just a quick gig. Yeah,
an appearance. Yeah, and like it'd be assisting too. And like I adore doing that stuff. I love it. Also because the pressure's off.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. To just kick back. No, and this is a great transition then into talking about some of your Muppet work. We see the Muppets Most Wanted poster behind you, and that really had to be just another level of dream coming true to be able to work on a Muppet movie. What was that experience like?
Did not see that coming. Did not see it coming. I loved the previous movie. And by that time I'd known some of the people, like Martin Baker had invited me to the premiere of the previous movie, because I think, we did a show called That Puppet Game Show for the BBC, which was a Henson show.
Right. We had Becky Henderson on a couple of months ago, and yeah, she was talking about that.
Yeah, Becky, who does Deet and that Crystal Age of Resistance. She was also on Pajanimals. So yeah, we did that. We did like a pilot for that, which was called Games Inc. And then we did I couldn't do this was one of those situations where I couldn't do the series. I couldn't do the series because the series came straight after Muppets Most Wanted. It's all coming back to me. And that was because I couldn't take that much time away from Dodge. Because I'd just taken like whatever it was, how many months for the movie. And then the series was straight off the back of it.
Sure.
In fact, they planned it so that because people on the series, like Louise Gold and Nigel Plaskett, they would go straight up from the movie to the series. But I had to go back. So I went in and like did a couple of weeks. But yeah, I did not see the movie coming. It came out of nowhere. And then I had the call was something like this. Could you start on Tuesday? And we shoot for 4 months or something. I was like, And the call was on like the Saturday.
I was going to say it was a Monday.
yeah, it was a weekend. So I called my boss and I was like, the Muppet movie, I have to go. And he was like, you can't go. I was like, no. I have to go.
Wow.
It's kind of not a question.
Yeah.
It was great. It was lovely.
So then what happened then was it just Hacker for that time then? Maybe some more guests and stuff?
Phil takes up the whole time. And there's human presenters too.
Oh, sure, of course, yeah.
So, yeah. There would always be like maybe four or six human presenters.
That's got to be nice too, just that at least, the fact that there is two of you doing that must add some flexibility over these years, even if Phil was sick or something, and then you could just cover with just Dodge for the day or something like that, I imagine. So that's pretty cool that you guys can.
It's cool. It's mostly me running away.
Yeah.
And him picking up the flag.
Yes, yeah.
I often try to take him with me.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about a shortage of things to say for him either. So yeah.
But that was great on that movie because they rebuilt the theaters, the Muppet theaters and stuff, and they brought out all these old puppets. It was nice. I got to double up a lot for the core cast characters. It's cool.
Yeah, and so like how do you prep for something like that? Because we've talked to other performers who have either been around the Muppets for a long time and they kind of have that experience of the rhythms, and of course you've like watched the movies and the shows and all that sort of stuff, but it's a different kind of thing to like be given Gonzo to double or whoever and say like, all right, you gotta do it. Like that's got to be a ton of pressure.
It was a ton of pressure, but I knew that I could do it because like I was obsessed. Like I know these characters inside out. I love them so much. Like I know the physical language of them all. I feel like I know their reactions to things. Yeah, I just love them. So I felt the pressure in like don't mess up, but no, I didn't really feel a pressure in I don't know how they would move. Mm-hmm. And I'd lots of on-screen experience of performing puppets, so like I was with the cameras and the monitors, it was like fine. By that point I knew exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, it came at the right time.
There's just a pressure of like it's a movie, it's now a movie, it's not just television. And like don't embarrass yourself in front of these people.
Absolutely. Do you have any good stories from that shoot? I mean, obviously just the little bits that you've shared already, it's got to be
I never know what
surreal.
we can like say. I got to do loads of stuff. Like I doubled for Fozzie a lot, because Eric's always so busy with all of his characters. I got to do lots of stuff. I got to do Sweetums for that bit where Constantine falls out of the O.
Oh yeah.
You know, of the logo, and the Sweetums drags him off. That's me in there. I did those legs, those moonwalking legs.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if they're like exciting stories, but it's just
no.
cool, yeah.
I think you mentioned something about Constantine. You had a good.
Oh well, yeah. So a puppeteers moment from the beginning of Muppets Most Wanted is when Constantine comes out of the bog, and so you've got Matt Vogel on Constantine, and David Rudden's on the right hand, and I'm on the left hand with the detonator. And so the bog it's raised, it's above us. We're sat on the floor with boxes, apple boxes. We're all reaching up, and the bog is only a small box, right? So it's like a box, and it's lined with rubber and stuff, and there's bog in there. There's like swampy, muddy water in there. Then you have 3 gloves. You have 3 holes in the bottom of this box, and 3 gloves going up. So for Matt's hand, my hand, and David Rudman's hand. And so when you put your hand in, it's really cold. I mean, that was cold anyway. It was the winter we were doing it, so it was really cold. But the water's really cold. So you put your hand in, and then the pressure of the water, there's so much liquid up there that it just pushes against your hand in the glove. So you get a numb hand, and you have to take your hand out and like shake it about for a bit. And they're putting some warm water in there, trying to make it, but then it's like dark and it makes it steam. So really cold. The pressure on everybody's hands, Matt's mostly, is really like just kind of too much to work with. So he takes his hand out of Constantine and out of the glove, but the glove comes down and prolapses and then fills with water and balloons. And we're like, oh. So we pull our hands out and we just run for it, and it just pops. And then the swamp and the bog is all over the studio floor. We're like, the monitors. And we just like run for the door.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
and that would have been, I suppose that's how they did like the Muppet movie with Kermit, and maybe Frog Prince when Kermit's in the pond, and the Fraggle stuff. I'd never worked with that kind of thing before. And yeah, it just kind of went fingers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And that's a wrap.
Like, everywhere, yeah. And boy, it took them a long time to tidy that up.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, and getting the
gosh.
equipment cleaned up, and
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
How was that not Matt's puppeteer story?
Yeah.
That's a good
one. He didn't remember that. I just reminded him of that recently.
Oh, really?
Oh, no way.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, we'll have to, that's interesting. Next time we have him on, we'll have to bring it up.
We didn't cry.
Sure.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
We just ran straight to craft services.
Yeah.
That's true. It might not have been like, not my problem. See you later. We got the shot.
We didn't get the shot.
No. Oh, you didn't even get the shot.
Nope.
Oh my god.
We had to go back and do it again.
So they had to rebuild it or fix it up then?
Refill it, and yeah.
Oh, wow. Holy cow.
I don't know.
Wow.
I just know next time we went in, it was back to how it was.
Yeah.
Supposed to be.
Oh gosh. Oh, my
Crazy.
gosh. Was this so obviously again you've been doing the monitor work for years. I'm sure you've racked up more monitor time than any puppeteer in the world. But was this your first actual movie then? Or was it all TV stuff before this?
All TV and mostly live television before that.
Yeah. Wow.
So like it's very slow on a movie.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that must have been well let me ask you this before we talk more about it. Obviously I'm sure you take more opportunities that you get, but what do you prefer then? Do you prefer TV then, or do you prefer movies? They seem so different.
I mean, they're really different, and my part in that movie wasn't massive. Like I had no characters, I had no lines, so maybe if I had a character in it, I had meat to get into, then maybe I'd prefer movies. I don't know really. I like what we learn is doing live television, the value of time. Like there's a hell of a lot you could do in 10 seconds. People think that like 10 seconds is no time to do anything. You can really cram into 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Like I've done things like got up, gone over there, did something over there, came back on a 10-second counter live. Like you can, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean,
like,
think about
so
if your television goes out for 10 seconds, you're already on the phone with your cable company or whatever. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, it just feels like obviously there's. I'm sure we'd all love to work on movies, right? And I'm not
too.
poo-pooing that at all.
I've
but
only
just,
done the one.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. But again, just with how much live time you get, I just feel like the environment of a movie is just like being put on a very well, especially with Dodge, being put on a very short leash because you just every single freedom that you have in what you're normally doing is completely gone.
Gone, yeah. And also,
and it's got to be perfect every time.
Yeah, it's got to be perfect, and because of all the experience, luckily that kind of comes because it's live, it's got to be perfect, otherwise it's ruined.
Yeah.
So with all, you kind of trained up for that anyway. But so the boots I would step into on that is that I'm now supporting. It's not about me. This isn't about me at all. It's just about supporting the main cast and making sure that they can do what they need to do and getting that job done. You know what I mean? It's more of a job, I suppose.
Right.
You turn up to help those guys.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
I mean, I know doing Dodge is a job, but it's also about me entertaining myself and how can I make someone laugh.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say when I go and do something like that, it's to help those guys get their job done, make their thing look good.
Yeah, no, of course, without a doubt. But I guess because I haven't really worked on television or in movies, of course, but I imagine that even like doing a puppet in a movie like that is probably like so different than playing the character in other ways because of how much time is just how long it takes to shoot because of how practical puppetry is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wonder if, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm completely wrong in this, but I imagine it's just like, I mean, obviously you got to know your characters, you got to be able to get in and out of them, in and out of their heads. But like, my guess is you don't get to be in the character's head that long per shot, especially just looking back at like how, like Miss Piggy being shot and how her hair is completely regroomed every single time the camera flips back to her. Like, you just know there's, maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes of time regrooming the puppet, resetting the shot between each thing. Like, I imagine it might be hard to get even the flow of a longer conversation in a movie if you're doing that many cuts and takes and this and that, rather than, especially if you're so used to just free flowing live.
I mean, they would run a scene, so you would try and get that to and fro. Yeah. But then they'd only run it one side. They'd only shoot one side.
Oh yeah, of course. That's what I mean, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it is all broken up. Yeah. And I suppose that's where you really need to know what you're doing before you get there. You can't. There's no place to learn.
Well, and so this is actually another really great transition because we're talking about this sort of the speed of television with the precision and the detail of something that's cinematic. And I have to imagine that you kind of got the best of both worlds in working on Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance.
Yes. That's cinematic, like a movie shot at the speed of television.
Right. Exactly.
Which means you're not sleeping.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, especially you as one of the puppet captains. I mean, that's got to be like playing like 3-level chess. Because that show was just so sprawling and
immense.
Yeah, and especially we've heard, like, I mean, just to perform any of those characters, especially like a Skeksis, but then you're also managing where people are performing in each shot and stuff. I mean,
like who's going to be in and when they're going to be in and what they're going to do and how they
if they're going to switch puppets and all that stuff. I don't even know where to begin, but can you just talk about that experience?
I didn't know where to begin. None of us had ever done anything like that before.
Right.
So I was the second assistant puppet captain with Dave Chapman, who was the first assistant puppet captain, and Kevin Clash was the puppet captain. And yeah, there was just a lot to be done there. So often, like, Louis, the director, would be upstairs editing all night long. Like, last person out, they would bring first person back in. But me and Dave would leave, and his car would be he'd be the only person in the building. So we would be there. We were there till midnight sometimes, and like you're back in at 6:30. Oh, wow. It was crazy, and such a gift. We just again, no one sees that coming.
Right.
If I said to you guys, "Oh, guess what? Dark Crystal's coming back," you'd be like, "Nah, you're crazy."
No. I was watching it and I couldn't believe that it happened. I mean,
I still can't believe it happened. It feels like another world, another time.
Yeah.
It's unimaginable to me that we did such a massive thing.
Oh yeah, no, and the thing I was most impressed with on it is really the pacing because of I mean, doing action shots like fighting and things like that is very. I mean, it's a couple things. First of all, it's very difficult to do with a puppet to begin with. And those kind of action shots have such a special way that they're typically filmed. Have the nice, that feel,
Yeah.
And I just can't even imagine. I mean, what it must have taken to, shoot, let alone, but even just to plan that ahead. And there's just so many obstacles.
Yeah.
In the way. And in the way puppets move, generally, when you're moving fast with a puppet, it doesn't look as good, right? And again, if it's a sword fight, I mean, it has to be fast, right?
You can't just turn up and say, "Oh, this is what we're going to do today."
Oh no, not at all.
It's a car crash.
Right.
So, and it looks so good because Louis is great at doing those action shots. Like, he's made action movies before and stuff. He's great at that, and it was all in his mind. He knew exactly what he wanted to see, and he wasn't coming at it like, "I'm making a puppet show." He was coming at it, "I'm going to make a great show."
Yeah.
It just happens to be full of puppets. And then you get like Neil Sterenberg, who's Rian in those sword fighting scenes, who's a fantastic puppeteer. Like, he's done all of his training. He knows exactly what he's doing. It all comes together. We had, like, for those sword fights and any kind of battle, we'd have a choreographer come, I don't know what they're called, a sword specialist. And he would come and, like, work out every single beat, and, like, you spin here and then you catch his sword on that turn. And so there's like hours of rehearsal footage of us going through all of those moves, and it's like, it is a choreographed piece on the floor. When you watch them do it on the floor, it's like, wow, that's amazing. How's nobody getting killed?
What was the rehearsal process like? Was there a pre-production stage where you were
constant.
It
was constant. We had a rehearsal hall at one end of the building, and we were constantly sending people down there to, like, look ahead at this, don't let it surprise you. This is coming up. So we'd, like, try and rehearse something, and then we'd video it, and it would get sent around to everybody. And then sometimes at the end of the day, we'd go down there and run something so the producers could see, and Louis. And it was a constant thing. The pre-production rehearsal for us was mostly like figuring out, how do these things walk? How do they move? I mean, we've all spoken about, all the puppeteers on it have spoken about the Gelfling walk, which was really hard to master. And Neil Sterenberg got it. He just had this, like, he found this funny way of walking himself that translated perfectly to look. I don't know if, like, you've watched Rian walking around. I'm like, there must be a man in that suit. Is there a man in that suit? And I know there's no man in any suit. It's all puppets. But my brain's just like, he's real. He's the gravity's there. Like, he has a skeleton. He's working. He's living.
No, absolutely. And it's funny. Something I asked Becky when she came on the show was like, what was, you having Louis Gold and Kevin Clash on it, must have been great because they were there the first time around. And she's like, they didn't remember anything.
So Kevin wasn't on the first one. Louise was on the first one. I'd often
and I think I qualified it that Kevin was on the Labyrinth, but yeah, just to you guys are all just rediscovering it and rewriting that language.
Well, I can't tell you how many times I'd, like, sidle up next to Louise at breakfast and go, "So, Lou, when we do this, how did you guys do that?" And she's like, I don't know. I can't remember. I'm like, oh, and the one person who might have been able to help me out here. But yeah, we were just, like, figuring it all out on the fly, on the go.
No, and that's just what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah.
And thank God that it turned out as magnificently as it did.
Looks good, doesn't it?
Oh,
we're so pleased with
it. As you should be, for sure.
Yeah. It's such a shame that they're not continuing it. It was really disappointing. I don't know if you know anything about this. Do you think, is there even a possibility, like, if there was enough people that wanted it, like 2-3 years later now, like, is all the stuff saved in some way that it even could come back another time?
I would imagine so. Like, the stuff's still saved from the original movie.
Right.
Yeah.
So everything gets preserved, doesn't it? So I would imagine so. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but I should think so. I think, and also with these things, I don't think they're ever dead in the water.
No.
I think it just takes like with the movie, it took a long time for it to become a cult classic, didn't it? And all of a sudden, like, everybody loves that movie, and and everybody knows it. So I mean, who knows? It's like you asking that question when the original movie happened and it didn't do so well. I'm sure somebody said, like, do you think this will happen again? Do you think you'll do number 2?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. From
And
that
then, like,
point,
4 years down the line,
yeah. Yeah, the first one was so underwhelming as far as the box office when it came out. You would think it would never come back again, and look, here it is coming back again and being brilliant. And I just was it ever announced why it was? Do you know, Cam, too, or do you know?
Say that again.
I don't know.
About why it wasn't renewed.
Netflix.
I would imagine Netflix is like, this is great and all, but we could produce something a lot cheaper, a lot faster.
We got the Emmy already, so yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, the 2 we got the Emmy. Oh, what a sham.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I'm just so glad we did it.
Oh, for sure.
I remember exactly where I was when I got the call, and we were in a Japanese restaurant, just about to eat my favorite food. My phone rang, and it was Kevin, and I was like, oh, I've not heard from him for ages. And then he's like, hey, mister, we're going to do the Dark Crystal. I'm like, huh? What? Like, of all the things I thought you were going to say, I didn't think you were going to say that. And from that point on, it was kind of like a whirlwind.
Yeah. Oh, again, it's like just one of those unreal things.
It was an unreal time. Like, that year was nuts for me. It was just crazy because I was doing Dodge. So let's think, like, Dark Crystal took like 9 months, and I think we had 3 breaks in it, 3 like 1 or 2 week breaks in it, split over those 9 months. So so 3 months and a week, 3 months and a week, maybe that was it. And so in between those, I went back and did Dodge in any of the gaps before. So around the rehearsals, I'd go and do the auditions. Sorry, I'd go and help run the auditions. I'd go back to Dodge, and then we shoot some. I go back to Dodge, and in one of those gaps, I even went back to Sesame.
Right.
So
because you're doing Gonger, yeah.
It was like the second year, I think, of the foodie truck. So we didn't even wrap. I left early on the Friday night. Luckily, we were close to the airport. Went straight to the airport in my nasty, because that place was filthy. There were fans on blowing all this like crap everywhere, dust and leaves, and we were sweating all the time because it was just hot work, and we were running around all the time. We were nasty. So I went to the airport all nasty, went straight to Sesame, had like the Saturday and Sunday to recoup, worked a week, and then flew back on the Friday night to come back and start again, which was just nuts. I think also in that, it's just a standout year for me because I also did some Muppet assisting. And I was thinking, like, this is like 1982. Yeah. It's like I was sent back in time. It's like a busy year when those guys were working in the
80s. Oh my gosh. Yeah, perfect way to say it. Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like I did Muppets, I did Sesame, I did Dark Crystal, and I did Dodge. All in that year.
Throwing Fraggle Rock and you got a hat trick, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Good, yeah, more of those, please.
Right. Oh, yeah, for everybody's sake, right?
Yes.
Wow.
And so there was kind of a puppeteers moment. I mean, there were probably quite a few on Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
Because like you just can't get away with something that big and that new without puppeteers moments. But so one of them was I was going to do the Wanderer Mystic. There are 2 mystics in the show, the Archer and the Wanderer. And so I did all the training. We had like really intense training every morning, and costume fittings and like puppet fittings and all this stuff for months and months and months. And then when we get to, I'm like in the Mystic and I'm walking up and down and stuff, but it doesn't have its hair on. It doesn't have its blankets on and its robes and stuff. And so at that point, which is like months in, because he didn't come until the last bit, the Wanderer, he's the blue Mystic. They put the wig on and the costume on, and I just freak out. I just like my claustrophobia kicks in, which I'd completely forgotten about because I'm claustrophobic, but I'd kept myself away from any of those. Like I didn't put myself in those situations ever since I was a kid because I knew that like I didn't like them. I just forgot. Like, it didn't enter my mind that you are going to be claustrophobic inside this creature. So I'm like down there with my arms out, and then like the wig goes on and it gets dark. I'm like, okay. And then like the robe goes on. I'm like, oh, it's dark and hot. Something else goes on, and then my brain just goes like, get out, escape. So somebody else had to take over. I couldn't do him.
Oh wow.
But like we were so close to doing it.
Right. And so it was that, is the Skeksis different enough in terms of like having being able to see your feet?
Exactly. I've thought about this so much and tried to figure it out in my brain, because like it didn't really make any sense to me that like I was used to everything. I was there, I was doing everything else, but it just seemed to be that I couldn't get myself out of it. So when you have mystic hands on, the fingers come up to like here.
Right.
You can't just like unbutton or unzip. Somebody has to put you in and take you out, and it takes a while. And I think my brain was like, you can't get out of it, right? If you want to get out, you have to wait for someone to come and get you out. So with a Skeksis, you can look down and see the floor. Your feet are on the floor, and it's a curtain. And also you can just like, you can take your hand out of the head sometimes, and depending on which Skeksis you're in, the head will stay there, and you can open the side up like a curtain and talk to someone. You've also got someone else with you, so you can be like, oh, I need some help. You're only like a couple of layers away from being free in a Skeksis, which is like flowy fabric and like poppers. Whereas like in a mystic, you're in. You're hunkered down and you're in there for the day.
Oh my gosh.
So that was a moment. Oh God. That's really, I never thought about it that way. Neither did I until that was happening to me.
Yeah. What would have been the longest stretch that you would have been in there?
In a mystic or a Skeksis?
Oh, I would guess either of them. Would it be different for the different characters?
I don't know. Like I think we were in a Skeksis for like 2 hours.
Oh, really?
At some points.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
It's a long time. Yeah. And like that summer was hot.
Right.
It was so hot.
You're dreaming for the bog, right?
Yeah. Like we would come out of the Skeksis and you would see like we were drenched in sweat down to our knees. Like our clothes are wet down to our knees.
Right.
And we'd have those like sachets of salts and stuff so that we didn't like lose all the goodness.
Oh gosh, the things we do for this art form, right?
Yeah. I mean, I loved every moment of it.
Sure. Sure, of course.
I just couldn't take. That was a point. I couldn't take any more. My brain was like, no.
You're done. You're done.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we were running around we were just running around all the time, from Skeksis to Gelfling to the creature to back to the office to like what's coming up in a week's time to
podlings and everything.
Oh, podlings. Everything. Yeah, I mean that's the break. The podlings are the break.
Right.
It's like, 2 podling days in a row. Thank goodness.
Love it. Oh, so good. And it's I mean there's so much we could be talking about, and we're kind of getting a little close on time. Would love to just talk with you a little bit about Gonger, because wonderful new character, of course started on the Furchester, and he kind of came to the Sesame proper. He's just so much fun to watch and see you perform. What's it like to be able to sort of import your own character that you had so much input on into the real show?
It's just a dream, an absolute dream come true. I'd always been obsessed with those international co-productions of Sesame ever since seeing like there's a New Year's Eve special where they go around and they see.
Oh, that was one of my favorites growing up. Yeah.
Me too. I always watch it now as an adult. Like we recorded it and I was like, whoa, this happens. And like I always wanted it to happen to us in England, and it never did until the Furchester actually. So to have a character that started off in a co-production and then jump to the domestic show is just like, it's a dream that I never thought I'd see happen. And like I had the luxury of, he was background on the Furchester. I just had time to play and be silly and make people laugh with it. And the more they laughed, the more I was like, oh, this is great. People like this. We just had such a good time doing it, I just didn't have much. The only time I had real responsibility on the Purchester is if I had to have a guest character. So I was really there to do the guest characters.
Oh, okay.
We'd have, a different guest each episode, a different hotel guest. So really that was why I'd be there, to double up for the core cast. In fact, another puppeteer moment is when I doubled for Fenella, Louise Gold's character. Like, she was off for one day maybe, that's it. And I doubled up and I pulled her arm off. Just clean off. And I was like, oh boy, she's gonna tell me off tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just had such a good time messing with him. And when David was there doing Cookie, it was apparent that those guys were funny together. They just had a funny, like, Gonger's trying to keep Cookie Monster in line, and Gonger just like, because of the language barrier, he like gets really annoyed very quickly with Cookie. And so when we came to the end of the series, I was like, oh no, this is like, it's ending very soon. This is basically the end of my fun.
Yeah.
So that's when I started to come up with the foodie truck stuff.
Yeah, it's such a fun little show. I think it's so interesting to see that pair of characters, because they're both so funny. I feel like you kind of need the juxtaposition typically, like the Bert to the Ernie, and I guess in a lot of ways the characters can still create that, but I don't know if I necessarily would have thought to like put those two characters together because of how goofy they both are.
If we were in a meeting now, we wouldn't decide. We wouldn't think that's a good fit, I don't think.
No.
You'd be like, he's crazy. No.
Yeah.
You need a straight guy. But it just evolved naturally.
Yeah.
There was nothing to it. We were just having a laugh, which is the best way, really, isn't it? The best way for that to come about.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, and then of course the story, again, you shared it on Below the Frame, just how incredible it is that, something that you were thinking as a sort of a spin-off would end up as part of the main show is just like, unreal. So cool.
And like, my motto is just like, you just have to do it.
Yeah.
You just have to go for it. You just have to ask the question, because like, if they say no, then fine. If they say yes, you've got a lot to gain. And like, I'm always open to opportunities. Like, when anything comes up, I'm like, yeah, we can try that. Why not? I'm just always keen to be doing, like, trying and doing and pushing things. And I told this story loads of times before. There was a food truck outside the studio, and I just asked the guy, can I have it for an hour if I give him some money? Like, I gave him £50 for it. And he was like, yeah, great. Like, he was just cleaning it. He was like, yeah, of course. So he just went away, and we took our iPhones in there and stuff, and we wrote a little script. And the script is basically what the episodes are now. And we just shot a quick little pilot. And so I think that's really what sold it. I think if you can show people some visuals, really show them this is what I think it should be like, I think that's what sells. Maybe on paper it wouldn't have sold as well.
Yeah, no, that's what I love about what you're saying, because a moment ago you just said it, like, you just kind of have to ask, but you did more than that. You more than just asked. You created a whole little pilot of it. And, that's what Phil was telling us too about it, and the fact that you had even the hunger to do that. I mean, so many people that I know and talk to, just like, everyone's got ideas, right? Everyone's got ideas, but an idea is only worth how much you'll put into it. And and it really has very little chance of going anywhere if you just keep it in your head. And sometimes just telling people about it isn't enough, especially with something as visual as this. You really got to show them. And
nobody's going to do it for you.
Oh yeah, no.
Like, nobody's invested as much as you are. I mean, it's my thing. So I'm like, well, I can't ask him to do it because he doesn't care.
Right.
And I just wanted to do it. Like, I'm always wanting to try new things. I'm always like, I'll call Phil and say, what do you think about this if they did this? He's like, yeah, okay, fine. And then I'll like run after this crazy idea that will never happen. But some of them do, like, a few of them might.
Yeah. No, that's great too. And I would just encourage anyone listening to just do that. Just create. Because here's the thing. Let's say you film that, you paid £50 to get that truck. You film this little short. You pitched it to Sesame Street. They said, no, you know what? We got something else we're working on. You throw it on YouTube. Yeah, sure. You don't make the, but you like, I've never regret, even if I didn't get a return on something, like, I never regretted creating that art.
As far as I was concerned, when we shot that pilot, I just made a great video.
Yeah.
I was really proud of the video. I knew that it would never get out there because I don't own the IP of the characters. But like, I was like, oh, I've made a great video that I can watch now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is something that I had in my mind and it's now on video.
Great little home movie.
So
yeah.
I was already one up.
Yeah. Oh, so we can't see that the little gorilla shot pilot, can we?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I mean, I hope so, but I don't.
That'd be
One of these
it'd be
days.
cool if it could be like, I don't know how it could ever be released, right? If there was what would be the excuse?
Little the bonus feature on a
DVD bonus
DVD.
feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That'll do it. Yeah, that would be awesome to see. I would love to see that.
I mean, it's just like a really rough version of the show.
Sure.
It's
I mean,
just in
but the thing is, though, it's so inspiring. It's a Cinderella story, essentially, with that video, right?
But like you said, like anybody can do it. You don't need to pay £50 to go and shoot in a food truck. You can shoot at home. You can shoot anywhere with an iPhone. Most people have iPhones. And if you don't, maybe your parents have iPhones. Somebody will have an iPhone that you know that will let you have it for an hour or so. And there you go. Like, you can edit in your computer. You can edit on the iPhone. You can get an app. You can get a free app to edit this iMovie. Like, all these things are so readily available to us. In the old days, I'd draw a title card and hold it up to the camera.
Right.
Like, it's all so easy now.
No, absolutely. I think that's a great message to, everybody listening should be taking that advice.
And like, you could, like me, end up doing something that's absolutely mind-blowing and something you never thought would ever happen.
Right.
I think everybody should try it. It doesn't take that much effort too.
Yeah.
If you love it, it doesn't take much effort.
It's probably the best £50 you ever spent.
Ever spent. I mean, boy, I can't even tell you how much that's brought back to me.
Right.
Have you ever gone back to that food truck? Like, hey, buddy, guess what?
To me. No, I can't bear to tell him.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't bear to tell him.
He'll hunt me down.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
No, he's gone now, sadly. They've all gone.
Oh,
of course.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all about timing. Like, they were just there at the right time.
Right.
It's all about timing. It always is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Sesame were looking for a new segment. I happened to have a segment at that particular time. Had it been like 5 months earlier or 6 months later, it would have been the wrong time.
Yeah.
It's just all about, and I didn't know that. It's just all about timing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But like, I'm just really pleased with those foodie truck segments. I'm so pleased with them. And it even thrills me. It thrills me so much more to like when I got my feet on the street, when Gonger got his feet on the street and we did a street story. We have another street story coming up this season at some point. I can't remember the episode number now, but there's an episode called Potluck Pickle in season 51. I'm excited for people to see that.
That's cool.
And then he was in the 50th anniversary show.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. One time I was wondering too, just since you did, you pitched that idea and it's come to fruition, are now at this point now with those segments, are you just the performer for it? Or
Yes.
are you still involved in the behind the scenes of that and writing that in some sort?
No,
Or-
I wrote some initially.
Yeah.
Like, I wrote the pilot and then I wrote some initially and it got kicked off. And now lots of people write them.
Yeah.
And
of
there's
course.
all
You kind of lock
lots
the
of different
template
flavors
in.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
We kind of set the format. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, we're always involved. We're constantly involved.
Sure.
So on the
Okay.
floor, if something changes or like you think, oh, this is a better idea than that, or, or it might, I don't know.
Well, that's
We're
just
always-
how things work too, and in a lot of ways, it's probably a benefit because now that you created this, you essentially now it's in their hands to keep it going. Now you have like more time and opportunity to write another thing that maybe in 10 years it'll be a new segment that you came up with, or even
write
with
the next Muppet movie.
I was gonna say write the next Muppet movie, or maybe whatever the next version of the Mongrels is. Another new thing you have now time to be able to create.
Which I'm constantly doing.
I'm sure you
That's,
are. Oh my god,
That's what I love to do. Like, I just love to do that all the time. Like, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll be like, oh yeah, a horse in a car, in a thing. Must remember that for the morning.
Right.
Like, I'm constant, and that's what I've been doing since I was tiny, since I was a little kid. Like, I still have all those silly notebooks with all those ideas. I've just constantly been doing it, and it just entertains me. It's what I like to do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I mean, this has just been so wonderful to get to talk to you and hear all this. I'm wondering as we wrap up if you have one more puppeteer story from that list that you want to share with us?
And
And if not, that's totally fine.
No,
You shared so many wonderful ones.
I'm thinking. One thing happened to me, and this was like a worry because I'd worked so hard doing the Dodge stuff, and we did like live weekend events. I just, at one point years ago now, I worked and didn't stop, and then I eventually just collapsed from exhaustion. And I was like, oh, this is new. I stood up and I went down, and I stood back up and I went back down.
Oh my
and my
God.
wife was like, oh God, call the ambulance and everything. Like, it was kind of serious. And so I was on the phone to the ambulance, and I was like this, because it was early in the morning. I was getting up really early to go and do a shoot. And the ambulance guys were saying, okay, we'll be there soon. And I was like, don't come. I need to be on location in an hour. So like, I just went back to work on the day because I had to. If I didn't go, no one else would be there.
Yeah.
And everybody was there. Everybody was there ready. And so like, that's a lesson. I've learned my lesson. Like, you must look after yourself. You can't just go and go and go. Like, I thought I was young, and well, I was young, but I thought my batteries would never run out, and boy, did they run out. I just like stood up. I stood up, and I just went bang, flat. Came to and was like, oh no, that's just a one-off. And then again, yeah.
No, wow.
To look after yourself. Make sure you're healthy.
That's definitely an important message, because we do.
Self-care.
Because even within this, we talked a lot about hustling and stuff, but you still have to keep the entire, perspective of everything going on in your life too. I
kind of lost it at that point.
Yeah.
I was just like a working machine.
Oh yeah, of course. Especially people who have families and stuff too, balancing family life and whatnot. Yeah, there's a lot to juggle, and you got to take care of yourself too. So.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't like I just was working. I wasn't doing the family thing. I was like, oh hi, bye. Yeah. From one thing to the next and early starts, and then like not realizing that some things take up more energy than other things. Like doing a live performance on the weekend is a really big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like to an outside audience and stuff at a festival and stuff like that. It's not like being in the studio and doing the day job where you can kind of chill between bits. It's full on, and you use up so much more energy than you would normally use. So I learned the lesson, and I look after myself now.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. So what's also the best way for people to follow more of your work?
Well, I'm on the social medias. I'm on Twitter and Instagram, which is @WarrickBP. And I have a website, which is brownlow-pike.co.uk, or maybe it's brownlow-pike.co.uk.
Wonderful.
You prefer. I'm on YouTube. Lots of my work is on my YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
So you can check that out if you're bored.
Well, we have all the links right here on the screen for people.
Do watch Sesame Street.
Yes, absolutely. They gotta see your episode of Gonger Street Story. So
yeah, and there's more foodie trucks coming up.
Excellent.
So
well, Warrick, thank you so much for joining us on Puppeteers. It was so good to have you, and would love to have you on again.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, bud. Bye.
We're at the end of another episode of Puppeteers, but the fun doesn't stop here.
Visit puppeteers.com for show notes and links to projects mentioned in this episode.
Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @PuppeteersPod, where we're posting new things every day.
Puppeteers is edited by Matt Bowen and made possible thanks to viewers like you.
If you enjoy this content, you can join our incredible Patreon patrons who are supporting the show for as little as $1 per episode. Those folks get access to early releases, uncut episodes, official Cup O tiers just like we use on the show, and can even submit interview questions for our guests. Go to patreon.com/puppeteerspod to learn more.
Another great way to support Puppeteers is rating and reviewing us on iTunes, leaving a comment or subscribing to this channel, or tell a friend about your favorite episode.
Thanks again for joining us on Puppeteers Puppetry Shop Talk, in-depth interviews with the world's most passionate puppeteers.
Hosted by me, Adam Krutinger.
And me, Cameron Garrity.
I have a list. I made a list. I just want to tell you before we start.
Yeah.
Because we've been trying to do this for so long, in my mind, I keep thinking, like, because I always see you ask people, what's the puppeteer story? And then they're like, oh, no, there aren't any. Well, of course, there are thousands of stories. You just forget them.
Right.
So I have here a list.
Love it.
I made a list. I have like a puppeteers moment for everything I've ever done.
You know, it's really funny how some people have them and some people don't. And like we've caught people off guard in the past, but like some folks are just like, no, I just like, unless I, have to go to the hospital, I just don't track that stuff.
Yeah, you just forget.